welcome back, peeps, to another wonderful episode of the World of Ted, where we explore how single Latter-day Saints can learn, live, and love truly enjoyable dating. So I decided after, the episode from last week where we looked at that article from Suzette. She said that it was the first in a series of articles. There's 3 articles in the series, so I thought, let's just go through the series and be done with that. So I'm going to pull this up here. We're going to start on the second of the series of articles here. I've kind of briefly glanced through it, but we'll see what we get together here. So let me just pull this up, and let's see. We'll get started here. So here we go. Looking at again from Exponent, and I'm going to repeat what I said last time. Okay, given that what's published in this publication doesn't always support the brethren 100%, then, I think we just take this with a grain of salt. So here we go. Article 2 in this series, The Different Sides of Single and Chaste. Yeah, we're going to talk about that thing today. So let's see. You see here, she originally posted it in 2016. It says here, it looks like she says she's updated it with a few points. So let's see what difference the updates make. I was almost 21 years old, just pre-mission when I went through the temple for the first time and come to live the law of chastity. Okay, well, just pre-mission at 21, you're already dating yourself. You're dating yourself there. When I went through the temple the first time, come to live the law of chastity, at the time I assumed I would have to contain my sexuality for a few more years, then stay faithful to my husband for all the years after that. I didn't think it would be very hard. But here I am, more than 20 years later, and I'm still on the contain my sexuality part. Because I've stayed single, I've had to make the choice about staying chaste, according to the LDS Temple Covenant many times. It is not an easy choice, and it's not an easy lifestyle. Well, okay, first of all, why are you making this choice multiple times? I recall President Spencer W. Kimball saying that, when it comes to making decisions about are you going to keep the commandments or not, you only need to make that decision once. And then, once the decision's made that you're going to keep the commandments, you don't have to keep relitigating the case. You don't have to keep reevaluating. You just do what you've already decided to do. You just follow through on your previous decision. You don't have to keep making this time and time again. That's why it's not easy for you. That's why it's not an easy lifestyle, because you're making the choice multiple times. Now, if you make the choice once, I don't think that's going to necessarily mean that you're going to have an easy lifestyle. It makes the choice easy, but it doesn't make the lifestyle easy, because we're all built for, and, so when you don't practice on a regular basis, then, you're having to war with your biology. In 2011, Nicole Hardy wrote an article in the New York Times called Single Female Mormon Alone, generated a lot of discussion among my single friends. In an article, now a book, Hardy describes her decision to leave her celibate Mormon lifestyle and explore sexual experiences. Already right there, it's just like, look, you're getting off the covenant path. Choices are different from mine, but that is not what bothers me about the article. I'm bothered by the fact she sees choices other than becoming sexually active as adolescent even foolish. Exactly, because you got off the covenant path. And when you stay off the covenant path, it's just like you see in, the dream of Lehi's vision of the tree of life. You get away from that iron rod, you start wandering off into strange paths in the dark, and you become lost. Or you enter that great and spacious building and you join them in mocking those who are on the covenant path. That's exactly what's going on here with this Hardy character. She writes, most troubling was the fact as I grew older, I had the distinct sense of remaining a child in a woman's body. Virginity brought with it arrested development on the level of a handicapping condition, like the Russian orphans I'd read about, whose lack of physical contact altered their neurobiology and prevented them from forming emotional bonds. Similarly, it felt as if celibacy was stunting my growth. It wasn't just I lacked, but relationships with men entirely. Too independent for Mormon men and too much a virgin for the other said, I felt trapped in adolescence. Well, there's a couple things wrong with your perspective here. The first thing is that you have your perspective is grounded too much in this life and this world. And you need to take a broader view of eternity and understand what it is that you're here for, what it is that you have this body for, and what it is that you should be doing with it in view of the eternities. And it seems like your perspective is focused on the moment that you have here in mortality. And second, too independent for Mormon men? Honey, I'm guessing you're living in Utah if you're making that kind of comment. And if that's the case, then my suggestion to you is to get out of Utah. Get away from that culture and go find, somewhere else to be, because, I'm a single Latter-day Saint man, and I would love to have an independent woman in my life. In fact, I actually prefer to have the independent woman, the one who can think for herself, the one who doesn't need to be dependent on me for everything, the one who can actually be at my side, help me meet my potential. So, if you find that the place where you are has a culture that's constraining for you, then you're not in the right place. You need to get into a new place, a place that's more aligned with the way you are and the way you think. But, at the same time, don't be abandoning the covenant path. Hardy's experience may tell one side of the story, but I have another. That's great, because I have another too. Rather than feeling that my choice of chastity leaves me stuck in adolescence or handicap, I feel it heightens my consciousness around my own body. I agree with that. I consider my feelings deeply because I am compelled to consistently reconcile my beliefs and my desires. I have considered my choices and fully own my This depth of feeling creates for me keen consideration of intimate relationships and a confidence I am choosing for myself. Yeah. You know what? I'm looking over this again and I'm thinking to myself, this is spot on. Living with intention. You're living with the intention of staying on the covenant path. And when you do that, you can get this kind of thing happening. Heightens the consciousness around your own. In other words, you're developing a sense of self-awareness that will bring you a measure of joy that you can't get any other way. Yeah, and you fully own everything about your life. I mean, I've said this before on the radio program, and blog posts, the whole 9 yards. I mean, if you're a regular audience member, you know that I'm all about owning your life. Take responsibility for the results that you get in your life, and you do that by taking responsibility for your actions and saying, I'm going to act so that I get the results that I want to get. I'm tired of the word virgin being tied to ideas like naive, simple, scared, fragile, and ashamed. I would like to see the word make a shift to connect with ideas like courageous, determined, strong, and sound, all attributes of a fully aware and responsible adult. Making a choice is empowering. That's very true. Again, living with intention. Gone are the days when I lived the law of chastity for fear of my bishop or the Lord. It is my choice, and I can own that. I can feel comfortable with my single friends who make other choices and own those as well. I can feel comfortable with my single friends who make other choices and own those as well. Well, if you're talking about owning the way you feel about other people, then I'm right in line with you. But I will never feel comfortable about people leaving the covenant path. How can I? How can I feel comfortable with that? When I know the joy that following the covenant path gives to me, how can I be comfortable when other people forsake that joy, put themselves in a position where they cannot receive that joy? How am I supposed to be comfortable with that? I mean, it's one thing to say, I'm going to let them live their life. You do you and I do me. I'm down with that. But I can't feel comfortable with them just doing whatever they want to do. No. The covenant path is the only place where I'm going to feel comfortable with other people's decisions. And, if you don't decide to stay on the covenant path, again, I let you do you, but I'm not going to like that because I know what the covenant path is. I know what it does for me. And when you walk away from the covenant path, you're basically saying you want to separate yourself from that. I'm not going to feel comfortable with that. There's still another side to the story. I give the Hardy credit. There's a typo here. I think she meant to say, I give Hardy credit, but I'm gonna correct the typo. My own little editing technique. I'm gonna say, I give the Hardy woman credit. I give the Hardy woman credit for describing a situation that has my complete empathy. Living chaste at arm's length with one's into mid-adulthood is a hard way to live. That is a hard road to hoe. Because again, like I said before, we're all made for, and when you don't participate regularly in, then you're fighting your own biology. That's hard. Is a normal part of adult life. Just what I get done saying. It is, however, a missing part of my life. There's another typo. Or the lives of my friends who live chaste and single and chaste. We are not only missing the act of, but the intimacy of shared living. Yeah, you're missing everything that comes with that. So there's no question about that. There's no question about that. Many adults live without for a few years into adulthood while they finish college or find the right one, but we live without for an additional 15, 20 years or more. Over time, this physical isolation changes us, creating a wound in body and spirit. It is a dark hurt of longing, unsatisfied yearning, aloneness, and insufficient closeness. I'm not gonna dispute that. What I am going to dispute is if you don't, I don't know what you're going to say here, on down further in the article, but if you don't tie this back in with the atonement and how the atonement can heal us and strengthen us and give us what we need to stay on the covenant path, then I'm going to say you're missing something here. Let's see. The situation is exacerbated by the feeling that this wound is invisible to our married brothers and sisters who see only the benefits of a chaste life. It seems that for them, there's no real difference between chastity at age 17 and chastity at age 40. Their sermons about the benefits of saving ourselves for marriage don't fall on deaf ears, but seem to lack understanding. It seems that married leaders equate their 20-year-old single experience to our current situation. We do see the benefits of living chaste, but our situation differs from that of a youth. Making sensible choices in a passionate moment is not as difficult in mid-adulthood as it once was. We've had practice with drawing boundaries and are fully aware of consequences. The harder part is the living, making the choice every day as the loss of a shared bed and a life companion grows. We miss intimacy into the deep parts of ourselves and know that some of those losses cannot be restored. And again, I would go back to what I said before. You need to make the decision to stay on the covenant path only once. You don't need to come revisiting it again. See, this is the problem. She's not really deciding to stay on the covenant path. She's not fully committing herself. She's not fully investing herself in the covenant path. This is the problem. And this is why whenever the difficulty of you fighting your biology comes back to the forefront and you have to fight that battle again, you're having to fight that battle in the context of having to relitigate the case that you already litigated before. You're renegotiating with yourself every single time this comes up. This is what's making it hard for you. So make the decision once and then stick with it. That makes doesn't make everything absolutely easy. It won't be like, life won't be like surrounded by roses. You'll still have to confrontation with your biology, but it'll be easier for you to make the right choice when you have that confrontation because you made the decision once and you determined to stick with it. So quit revisiting this. Quit going back and rehashing all of the reasons why you're doing what you're doing. Just make the decision once and stick with it. While choosing a chaste life comes with its price, I still believe it has been a powerful choice for me. I feel strong, I feel free, I feel whole. And the scope goes beyond myself, which gives me reason to continue choosing it. On its own, the law of chastity may fall short. On benefits, well, again, I think you're a little short-sighted in what you're seeing as benefits. because you're focused on the lack of, which is really something that pertains to this life and this world. Not to say that it doesn't exist on into the eternities. I just think it exists in a different form or a different state. And when you see things from a more eternal perspective, you can come to see more of what I'm talking about. Choosing it may fall short of benefits. Yeah, so the other thing I was going to say about this, falling short on benefits. So one of the benefits of keeping the law of chastity is that you're able to pair bond with a partner when you eventually do find a partner. It's been scientifically shown, and this is, I guess, an effect that's more pronounced in women than in men, and it affects men and women differently. But the idea is that the more sexual partners you have, the harder it is for you to develop an emotional connection with your partner that helps to keep you true to that partner. So the way this works is different for men and women. Men find it more difficult at the beginning of the relationship. And so, for them, it's harder for them to develop that connection because they're so used to pump and dump. But, when they stay with the one person, they can actually put themselves in a situation after a while to where they can commit long term to one partner. For women, it's a different story. For women, the difficulty comes more at the end because, when you actually finalize and cement that long-term relationship with the marriage, you've got the wedding, you've got the honeymoon, you've got this, new experience with desired emotion that women are looking for. And so that sustains the woman in either helping to develop that pair bonding emotion or to substitute for it. But once the honeymoon is over, it's difficult for that emotional connection to continue and remain if it was ever there at all. Because she's used to having multiple partners. She's not used to being in that long-term thing. So the more partners you have, the more difficult it is for you to develop that pair bonding emotional connection with your one partner. So that is one benefit of the law of chastity. I don't think she's cognizant of that here. I think she's just looking at the momentary pleasure of and saying that's the real benefit. And of course having the shared life with somebody, but you don't need to have a shared life with somebody. Let's see. But combined with all the principles of the gospel of Jesus Christ, it holds greater weight. All these principles together create a tight weave in the fabric that connects me to God and to others in my faith community. It provides a sense of safety that spreads throughout my life. Safety is, big thing there. Living chaste allows me to participate fully with my community of saints and holds me in solidarity with them. Yeah, you've all made the same covenant and you're all striving to keep the same covenant. That is, in fact, covenant keeping should be the central part of our culture. And also means solidarity with them. This community sustains me with their own faith and trust. I'm better and live richer because I am whole with them. By choosing to live chaste, I sacrifice parts of myself and am built stronger in other parts. My relationship with Christ allows me to believe that his atonement will in time heal my wounds and deepen my understanding. Yes, I'm so thankful that you brought that in. But I would scratch the words "in time." The atonement of Jesus Christ is something that is so powerful that it can have an immediate effect. So if, I could just lay this all out, but I'm going to make you work for it a little bit. If you look at references to the atonement in the Book of Mormon, okay, you'll see that in some of those references, it talks about how things need time. And indeed, for your situation, I don't know what your situation is, but that may be something that you need to consider. For something else, for other things, though, you see other references there where it talks about the atonement takes immediate effect. And so, I don't know what your situation is here, Suzette, but, maybe it is one of those things where it needs time, but, from the way you have it separated off with commas, it just gives the impression that, you're not looking for it to happen now. And I'm here to tell you that it can happen now. It can happen now. Christ can heal us and transform us. Of course, it all comes, according to your faith and the will and timing of the Lord and all that stuff. But, I wish that you would have put in more of a reference here and made a stronger assertion that this can happen. And you don't need to necessarily wait for it. So that looks like that's the end of the article. So, all right. So that's it. That's all we got here. So I'm finding myself more in agreement with this article from Suzette than the one I read last week. We'll see what happens next week with the article I read for last week. But, as far as this article goes, that's all we got for this episode of The World of Ted. So be sure to join us next time for the wonderful episode of The World of Ted, in which we discovered and learned how single Latter-day Saints can learn, live, and love truly enjoyable dating. See you next time.